Good day from my smartphone to yours. I'm Lovecasting live from the Serious Joy Garden Studios in Costa Mesa, California. And this is your Wednesday Hump Day. Namaste today. Good day and namaste, and welcome to Namaste Today. My name is Christopher Oteki. I am a psychic astrologer and the Sensei to Serious Joy. My job on earth is to stand in my heart and help others into theirs. This episode is for Wednesday, October 28th, 2015. And today the sun has progressed to step 5, Scorpio. Now we'll talk step 5 in just a moment. Let's first kind of review our Scorpio energies. Scorpio energy is the opposite of Taurus, if you don't know. It's ruled by the number 0 in numerology. I call it step 0. It is the I protect command when we are creating reality. And it is the divider between everything, heaven and earth, life and death, intimacy, black and white, Scorpios are known to be very black and white. And what's interesting, frankly, are these recent pictures that have come in from Pluto, because we have a NASA probe way out there by Pluto getting some real pictures. And, Scorpio is the opposite sign of Taurus. And it's interesting because Taurus rules Earth, Scorpio rules Pluto. And the pictures of Pluto show Pluto with brown dirt, just like Earth, and blue skies. Interesting, even though it's super cold over there. So we are progressing through our Pluto Scorpio energy. I don't know where I said Capricorn. Pluto's in Capricorn. That's why my mind went there. Pluto Scorpio energy. And Scorpio represents the final boundary. And in our solar system, indeed, Pluto is the line and Earth is the other line. So it's from Pluto to Earth that we live our reality. Now, in the last 24 hours, you might have had a breakdown and a breakthrough. We had a breakthrough, step 4 day. We have a full moon in Taurus. And so literally the universe is trying to separate our egg yolk from our white, okay, or our good from our evil, or trying to separate the fogginess of maybe something going on in your life. Everyone in this early stages, it's all about separation. And the full moon is that separation, like this is the good and this is the bad, or this is the up and this is the down. And that's part of that Scorpio dichotomy that happens. If you know Scorpios, they're very black and white. And I think that has to do a lot to do with, that's the only way you can be very clear about a boundary. You have to really separate it. Where's the boundary? It's the space in between. So in the last 24 hours, people had breakdown. They probably had breakdown due to the fact that they had misappropriated a boundary, not been clear of a boundary, or you were in the wrong place where you did not belong, because step 4 is breakdown energy in itself. We might have even seen world events as well. I don't know. I am pre-taping these. But today, thank Goddess, step 5 rules the day. And step 5 is breakthrough. Step 5 is I think. And this is where our mind at first tries to get its mind around the truth, but finally does get to the breakthrough, which is to understand what the heck went wrong, where is it that we didn't belong, or where is it that we needed a boundary. And that brings us to today's topic, which is original sin. Original sin. Now, I actually learned about original sin from a book called Conversations with God that I read, a book series, and I have to recommend it. It's amazing. It really helped me understand a lot of spirituality and how we incarnate. But one thing really cool that God described in the book is original sin. Original sin is actually a very, very simple false belief in the mind that leads to all sorts of false logic and false truths. Okay? So in other words, if we're going to talk boundaries in Scorpio, and we're going to talk step 5, which is I think, there are certain boundaries that people need to be conscious of in their mind. There are certain thoughts that should not be thought. If thoughts become things, then we have to be mindful of what we think about and mindful of what we don't. And I think that, we got carried away with this kind of, quote, thinking with the church when people would, quote, think about sin and, oh, no, I'm thinking about sin. Oh, I'm thinking about sin. That's probably the only place that people ever think about boundaries. But for me, I think of thinking boundaries in a different way because I am a master thinker and my thoughts can clog or can do wonders for me, right? And for you when they do for me. And so for me, boundaries of the mind have to do with running well and not necessarily freaking out about our own thoughts. I think that's kind of junior thinking. I think for the people who are more down the chain of thinking, it's that we're trying not to think negative. It's that we're trying not to put ourselves down in our thoughts. It's that we're trying not to talk bad about somebody. To me, this is where modern humans are with thinking boundaries versus like, oh, I had a sinful thought. Because the truth is if you have a simple thought, it doesn't matter. It's only if you act on it that it matters. But then again, if you have many thoughts that you are a piece of shit, then you may not even act, period. So, this is the difference. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about original sin and how that works. Let me first, though, put to you today's 5 o'clock question. What thought in your mind are you sick of having? What thought in your mind are you just sick of having? That's the first question. And the second follow-up is, what is the original sin of that thought? Now, I know you don't know what an original sin is, so go with me here, okay? Let Sensei teach. The first thing is I'll answer my own questions because I think that's very helpful. First is, what thought am I sick of having? I am sick of having the thought that I have more stuff to do. I'm a Taurus. I've created this, this playlist of work that will never end, and I am sick of thinking about how much I have to do. Like every time I think about it, I go into freak out. People are like, "What's wrong with him?" It's like he just thought about his to-do list. You know what I mean? I am sick of it. I don't want to think about it. I'm trying to put up a boundary. So, what's the original sin? Aha. Now this is what it gets to. The original sin is technically a thought that's underneath that thought that's leading to that thought. So a lot of times, my point is, when we're trying to change our thinking, it's not about trying to stop your mind from having this thought or not this thought. It's about going in and removing the original sin, the original thought that brought that thought. And in my case, this is the original sin, and it is one. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I worry about not being enough, and so then I worry about how much I have to do. I worry that I'm not enough, and so it leads to this. I worry that I'm not enough. I worry that I'm not enough. I'm not enough is an original sin, okay? And that got twisted in the idea that people have an original sin inside them. They don't. But they create original sins that turn into big sins against themselves over time, because that original sin is not true. It's false. I am enough. I'm perfect the way I was born. I don't have to work my ass off to prove to you that I'm great. I am great. I can just live that way. So whatever I do today is fine. And therefore, I don't have to worry about I have so much to do because I just need to be myself. I am enough as I am. Does that make sense? So today, just to reiterate, we're going to look in our consciousness of thinking, observe your thoughts, and the idea here is to identify a thought you are sick of having, and then determine the original sin underneath that thought. What thought is fueling that thought? And then, what that original sin, what else does it fuel? Because I know me not being enough makes me worry about money. Me not being enough makes me worry about being on time. Me not being enough makes me worry I won't ever be in love. Me not being enough makes me worry about a lot of things. And that is a boundary issue, a Scorpio boundary issue, where I need to get out of my system that original sin, and then once the sin is gone, I've corrected it. In other words, I am enough. Then I go ahead and, what's the word I'm looking for? What do you call when you throw somebody out of a house? You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to think about. Kick them out. I'm trying to think of the term, but you get rid of all those thoughts that do not apply from that point. You can get rid of them. Evict. Thank you. You can evict all those thoughts. All right. So let's shift this eviction from our topic of original sin and on to my guides, who might have some gigglies for us, and what's going on today with the planets and anything else they might want to throw our way. Interesting. Okay, so we have the soul pyramid going on today. Let's take it back. We're at step 5 of Scorpio, which means we're trying to get our mind around today where a certain boundary should or should not be. You might have been emotional from the weekend moving on, because as far as I'm concerned, from step 2 to step 5 in Scorpio is all shift. It's just all shift. It's very difficult. So you're just shifting and sliding like you're on ice. And today might be the first day your mind's finally starting to get some traction of it. Now, Mercury is at step 22. Anyone's been watching with me for a while? No, step 22 is the quantum step. That means today is the day our mind figures out where it really belongs. And it's at step 22, Libra, which means our mind is trying to figure out where it belongs on Earth, as far as like, where's our team? So yesterday you might have slipped or had a boundary issue because you're in the wrong car, or in the wrong thing, or in the wrong this, or in the wrong place at the wrong time, or you didn't pay your bills, or your lights went off, or whatever. But today, that thinking goes way ahead and goes, why are we even in a school district that has its lights go off? Why are we even in this town? Do we even belong on this block? So they're showing me that today, people carry it long scope with this full moon and actually continue the eviction process deeper, longer, farther, wider to whatever the first breakdown was yesterday, and really get to like, no, I belong here, period. And there's a point today when the moon goes to 22 degrees. It will be at around 10:50 a.m. Pacific time. I will put out a serious alert on my Twitter if you follow me on Twitter. And this point, they told me, this is what they actually told me in the meditation here. They said that 22 moment is the moment most people will decide. So most people, when the emotions get to 22 Taurus, will make this like, like that's when everything just goes quantum bonkers. And that's probably when the mind will make a decision. Now, depending on where you stand, if you're a person born in the first 10 degrees of a sign, you're usually the one who's out actually going through the football. If you're in the next 10 degrees of a sign, you're usually the one out coaching those people like me. And if you're in the final 20 degrees, you're usually in the skybox watching this on TV having a martini. Okay, because you're a master. Either way, we all learn together because we see the football player drop the ball. Then the coach screams. Then the person in the box is like, we got to sell this team or whatever. And energetically today, they're showing me that everyone, the whole world is tied. So I wonder if there'll be a world event. There might be some world news that comes out actually on this day, because it's a very tied event. They're telling me the entire global consciousness will shift at the same time. Some very alarming news might come out. Something very shocking might come out. So you heard it here first, folks. The last thing I want to point out for today's webisode is that people's beliefs today will change, they say. So when I talked about changing teams, with Saturn at step 3, we are all ready to change philosophical teams. So you may see people change to Republican for Trump because they're just sick of seeing the Hillary stuff. You may see people finally dump Trump. You may see whatever. Oh, that's a good slogan. Sorry, Donald. But I think we might see complete philosophical shifts. And really this is, Pluto's at 13 Capricorn. And so Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So Pluto is never more a buzz than during Scorpio. So Pluto in Capricorn is really a buzz 2 times a year, during Capricorn and during Scorpio. So we are making a lot of big rule changes right now, whether we're aware of it or not, and we're picking sides. I've always said there's going to be a re-evolution in our lifetime. People are actually picking sides right now, whether they're conscious of it or not. And for those of you who light walk like myself, spread the light right now. People need the light. People need to be reminded high is good, choose for themselves, etc. All right, the last thing I'll just say is that Mercury is in a fight with Uranus, and so a lot of people are going to be in a mind challenge back and forth with the right action to take. The answer is ask your heart. Your heart always knows the right action to take. All right, my friends, that's all I have for you all. Hump day. Sounds like it really is a hump day. Funny how it happens that way. I'll be back in 24 hours with more. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe. If you'd like to watch the show without commercials and leave a comment, come on down to soulgarden.tv. That's my mothership. And if you'd like to hear about my serious alerts, then follow me on Twitter at Siwateki. I'll see you in 24 hours with more. Remember, I love you, and live, love, be.
So